Michael Jordan lost a lot before he became the unbeatable myth. Before his first ring, he was knocked out of the playoffs 7 times. Milwaukee got him in 1985. Boston eliminated him in back-to-back years. Then Detroit showed up and turned his life into a nightmare. The Pistons built the Jordan rules, hit him hard, forced him into traffic, and sent Chicago home 3 straight postseasons. Nobody talks about that enough. The truth is simple. Jordan never lost in the NBA Finals. But fans turned that into Jordan never lost when it mattered. That is completely different. Earlier rounds mattered too. Those losses are what made the story better. He was not born unbeatable. He got beaten, adjusted, came back, and then destroyed the league. Wilt Chamberlain was not dominating a league full of plumbers and milkmen. That might be the laziest insult in NBA history. Yes, Wilt played in a smaller league. But a smaller league also meant the talent was packed into fewer teams. Every night he was seeing Bill Russell, Nate Thurmond, Walt Bellamy Willis, Reed Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. Those were not part-time workers. Those were Hall of Famers. And then things get funnier. Wilt was over 7 feet tall, but he was not just big. He was fast, powerful, explosive, and had real track and field athleticism. The NBA even changed rules because he was too difficult to control. You do not rewrite the sport because someone is bullying random amateurs. The plumber's line sounds funny. It just is not true. LeBron James got called unclutch mostly because 2011 never left the internet. The Dallas Finals, a few late-game possessions, a few passes instead of forced shots, and suddenly the label was born. But the evidence tells a different story. LeBron has made more game-tying or go-ahead playoff shots in the final seconds than anyone in NBA history. And it was never just one moment. Game 5 against Detroit in 2007, he dropped 48 and dragged Cleveland through the fire. Game 6 against Boston in 2012, he walked into an elimination game and looked ice cold. Then 2016 happened, down 3-1 against the 73-win Warriors. The Iguodala block. Game 7. The ring. The not clutch story survives because people remember misses louder than facts. Stephen Curry was called a finals fraud mostly because he did not have a finals MVP before 2022. That sounds like a strong argument, but it is really lazy. In 2015, Curry was the engine of the system that changed the NBA. In 2017 and 2018, he created panic just by sprinting around a screen. Defenses freaked out. They blitzed him, trapped him, chased him 30 feet from the rim, and the Warriors scored from that fear. But because Durant won Finals MVP, people pretended Curry disappeared. Then Boston happened in 2022. The league's best defense, a dangerous series. Curry dropped 43 in Game 4 and ripped the whole story apart. A narrative that lasted for years died in one night. Michael Jordan's flu game may not have been a flu game at all. That is the weird part. Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals. Bulls and Jazz tied 2-2. Jordan walked onto the floor, exhausted, vomiting, and barely looking stable. Then he scored 38 points, played 44 minutes, and Chicago won 90-88. The image became legendary. But years later, Jordan said it directly. It was not the flu. He believed it was food poisoning from a pizza he ate in Utah. Trainer Tim Grover had told a similar story long before The Last Dance. So the performance was real. The sickness was real. The pain was real. But the most famous name attached to it was probably wrong. Food poisoning game just never sounded as iconic. The NBA lied about player heights for decades. Not always like some evil conspiracy, but roster heights were closer to marketing than real measurement. Before 2019, some players were measured in shoes. Some were rounded up. Some were rounded down. There was no clean standard. Kevin Durant was listed at 6 feet 9 inches for years, even though everyone with working eyes knew he was taller. Kevin Garnett did not want to be called a 7-footer because he did not want to be boxed in as a center. Charles Barkley was listed at 6 feet 6, but many believed he was shorter. Then things got weird. When the NBA pushed more standardized barefoot measurements, numbers started changing fast. 1 inch sounds small. In the NBA, it can change how an entire career is perceived. Kevin Love made the NBA suspicious because his injury story sounded too weird. In 2012, Love broke bones in his right shooting hand before the season. Minnesota said it happened during knuckle push-ups. Love said the same thing, but almost nobody bought it immediately. In the NBA, hand injuries often come with a different story. Punching a wall, a door, a locker, or some angry moment that gets cleaned up later. Then the rumor started moving. People said Love punched a refrigerator. The problem is that no public evidence ever proved it. No witness, no document, no teammate confirmation. And the funny part is, knuckle push-ups really can break metacarpal bones. The story sounded fake, but it was never actually proven fake. Quick subscribe if you like NBA stories people argue about forever. Back to it. Kobe Bryant got called a chucker because people looked at field goal percentage and stopped thinking. That is way too simple. Kobe did not live on easy shots. He took late clock shots. He shot through double teams. He shot when the offense broke down and the Lakers had one option left. Give Kobe the ball. That changes everything. His efficiency has to be judged with era shot difficulty volume and creation burden included. Kobe's prime was slower, tighter, less spaced, more mid-range heavy, and much more physical than today's NBA. If you judge a 2004 shot profile with 2026 standards, the story gets distorted fast. Kobe was not just throwing up random shots. He was taking the shots most players were scared to touch. Modern NBA players do not play defense sounds true when every team seems to score 120. But high scoring does not automatically mean bad defense. In reality, modern defense might be harder than ever. Older teams did not always put 5 shooters on the floor at once. Today, even centers can drag you outside the three-point line. The spacing is wider. The floor is bigger. One small mistake becomes a wide-open 3. Then things got weird. Rules also took away a lot of physical tools defenders used to rely on. They cannot hand-check the same way. They cannot redirect players as easily. So now defenders chase faster athletes inside smarter systems with fewer physical weapons. The score is higher. That does not mean nobody defends. It means offense evolved faster. The Lakers' bubble ring got called a Mickey Mouse ring like they were handed an easier road. But that sounds better than it holds up. Every playoff team in 2020 lived inside the same setup. Same courts, same rules, no crowds, no home court advantage. And that is the part people forget. The Lakers were the #1 seed in the West, but their home court edge disappeared completely. Instead of making the playoffs easier, the bubble turned them into a strange mental test. Players were isolated for months away from family stuck under strict COVID rules. Danny Green later said it was the hardest championship of his career. The bubble was different. That does not mean it was fake. Reggie Miller did not destroy the Knicks the way internet memory tells it. He definitely tortured them. Spike Lee, Madison Square Garden, 8 points in 9 seconds. Those moments were so loud that they swallowed the rest of the story. But the rivalry was not one-sided. The Knicks beat the Pacers multiple times in the playoffs. In 1994, after Reggie's famous choke gesture, Indiana looked like it had grabbed control. The New York won Game 6, won Game 7, and went to the NBA Finals. Nobody remembers that part. Patrick Ewing even delivered a monster Game 7 with 24 points, 22 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 blocks. Reggie was the perfect villain, but the Knicks were not helpless victims. They won huge battles too. Dennis Rodman is remembered like he only cared about dyed hair parties, Vegas wrestling, and chaos. But on the court, he was obsessed with details. Rodman did not just jump for rebounds. He studied rebounding like a science project. He watched which side certain players missed to, whether shots bounced long or short, how the ball spun, and even how different arenas changed rebounds. That is insane. So when a shot went up, he often moved before everyone else even reacted. Leading the NBA in rebounds 7 straight seasons does not come from random energy. It comes from preparation. Rodman looked like chaos from the outside. Underneath it, he had one of the strangest basketball brains the league has ever seen. Chris Paul gets called a choker because he never won a championship. But having no ring does not automatically mean collapsing in big moments. With CP3, the story is usually brutal injury timing. In 2015, he hurt his hamstring right after helping eliminate the Spurs. In 2016, he broke his hand against Portland. Then 2018 became the deepest cut. The Rockets led the Warriors 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. Paul had just played a huge Game 5. Then his hamstring gave out. Houston lost the next 2 games and missed 27 straight threes in Game 7. That changed everything. If Paul stays healthy, his legacy might look completely different. Choker is easy to say. The truth is much colder. Scottie Pippen was not just Michael Jordan's sidekick. He was the reason the Bulls did not collapse when Jordan left. In 1993-94, Jordan stepped away from basketball. A lot of people expected Chicago to disappear from contention. Instead, the Bulls won 55 games. Pippen became the main scorer, main playmaker, main defender, and real leader. He finished top 3 in MVP voting. That is not a passenger. That is a superstar hidden beside the greatest player ever. Pippen could defend multiple positions, handle the ball, create shots, rebound, and control the game like a modern wing before the league fully understood that role. The 6 rings made him immortal. but they also made people forget how great he was on his own. The biggest lies in NBA history do not always start as total fiction. Sometimes they begin as half-truths repeated until they become legends. And sometimes the real story is even better than the myth.